I did not grow up in a religious home. We attended church until I was about 5 years old. When Tracy and I got married, she wasn't necessarily an active participating member of church when we were dating, but I felt like there was a little bit of a switcheroo there, and I was kind of just expected to, attend church. I think I misunderstood what was required of me to be a Christian. I really felt like that I had to live perfect. I became a little bit critical of the church and religion, and it just didn't feel super genuine to me.
I attended church without him off and on for several years. It was hard because I watched other couples come in and sit with their families, and I always longed for my whole family to sit together. Steve was done with religion. He had been hurt before in church, and he just kind of stepped out into the world. Drinking, gambling, drugs.
I think I was using mostly alcohol just to kind of deal with the things that were uncomfortable in my life. I gradually began to spiral with depression and drinking, and I was really miserable with myself. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I was treating my family or my kids. I didn't like what was happening to them. You just get to a point where you hate yourself.
Several years ago, I was praying, and I just felt like God had spoke to me, and he gave me a verse, and it was in 2 Peter. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it says, win your spouse over by your actions and not your words. And so that's what I kind of started doing. I prayed for him every night. I'd stick my leg on his foot and I would pray for him. I fasted for him. I just sought God. And sometimes there was times in my walk with God that I questioned him, and I would scream at God. And to be honest with you, I'd be like, why am I having to go through this? I also had an appointment with a lawyer. And when I got to there with the lawyer, I couldn't go in. God told me to turn around and go home. And then one night we had worship, and Pastor Corey has said, put your prayers on the floor. I didn't have any words of wisdom to put on the floor or anything like that. I just put his name down because I was just broken. I was broken because I was ready for him to come to Jesus. But I also prayed. I did not want my husband to come to God because for a short period of time, I wanted him to be sold into Jesus. And so when I put his name on the floor, I prayed over it, and I just asked God, I said, God, I'm just asking you to save him completely. Not for a short period of time, but for the rest of our lives together. And it wasn't too long later that he came to church.
There was a point where I thought about taking my life, and I was out at Tecumseh Lake, and I'd been drinking, and I had the means to do so, and I feel like God gave me a second opportunity. I know he did give me a second opportunity there. And so I came here in January of 23, and I immediately liked the church. I didn't feel judged when I walked in. It felt different. It felt very comfortable. The people were incredible. As I began to attend, I felt some conviction, and I knew that I needed to give my life back to the Lord. And so I walked up to that spot on the stage. Corey was standing there, and I took Tracy with me, and I just told him that I was ready to give my life back to the Lord, that I was tired of who I had become, and I wanted to be the husband and father that God intended me to be. And it wasn't just all up and to the right from that point. It actually, I feel like, that's when a little bit more of the battle intensified for me.
He went really deep on the bad side. And I woke up one morning and I'd had it. I met him at work, and I just told him, I stood in the parking lot and I said, I'm done. That's when I guess he says he's seen something in my eyes that he's never seen before.
Then I started having some conversations with Corey. He'd suggested that maybe I needed to go to treatment, and I was like, no, I don't need that. I can do this. And made him a promise that if I fell off again, that I would go back. And so we agreed, and I made it 2 or 3 weeks, and then had another bad slip. So I agreed to go to treatment. I went to Rob's Ranch, their 30-day program in Sarah, Oklahoma. It's called Path to Miracles. And I think something changed in my heart where I was able to begin to give myself a little bit of grace, and I was able to begin to try to like myself again.
I was a little standoff, didn't trust him quite yet, but we had a small group in the family room, and there was something that switched in him that I noticed that night when he was talking about his past to someone else. And then I thought, okay, I think God really has answered my prayers. And so I just kind of watched for a little while, and then things kept getting better, and they keep getting better. But being in the presence of your people and God and worship, it almost refills your soul to make it where it's just like, okay, I can make it another day. I got this. I can pray for him another day. There are some ladies in this church that I know for a fact has prayed as hard as I have for my husband. And one is just a saint to me because her name's Denise. And there would be times that I would come in with a smile and she goes, I know you're not okay. I can see past the smile. I'm praying for you. I got you, girl.
I have been sober 811 days today, which is a little over 2 years, I think 2 months. I love my church. I love the people here, and I just love how we go about things. And I was able to tell Adam when he was here for Vision Night, you know, that when you sit back and think about, so the decision that he followed the Lord and started that church in Norman, how that exponentially goes down, and so how many souls and how many lives are touched. I'm just one of those lives that is really in direct relation to him following the Lord, and doesn't feel like a church. It feels like I'm coming to a family reunion, and it's not religion, it's relationship for me.
Pastor Corey and Devin have been amazing. I mean, without them and just our church family, there's no way we'd have made it. There's just no way.